Hi, everyone. Welcome to Illuminations with Andrea Gutierrez here at the Fresh Basic Needs Hub. We're here to showcase this beautiful place. And so if you guys haven't been here before, this is the Fresh Basic Needs Hub. And you can find a whole host of different things here, including fresh produce and all these great things that you see behind us. And so this is Andrea, and I'm going to introduce you to Andrea right now. I'm going to ask her a few questions. And so, Andrea, how long have you been here at UCI?
Well, working at UCI, I've been here for about 6 years, but I'm also a UCI alum. So my journey here started actually when I came here to study, and then I kind of stayed after.
So what is that story? What was the story of you starting here and building this great place?
Of course. So as a student here, I was very involved with student groups that were really trying to affect change specifically for like first generation students like ourselves. We were working on establishing the Dream Center, for example. We were also working on making the Source Center a permanent space and really kind of looking at like what resources are lacking. So we were having a lot of conversations around food security, the need for maybe emergency food resources like a pantry. Interestingly, around the time, I would find cooking as a way of really like, relaxing and kind of finding some balance right through my studies. And I started bringing a lot of like prepared food into the Source Center, which was an area where we actually grew out of. And so even before this existed, right, I was already very involved with the center. I would bring prepared food. And the director and I started noticing that a lot of students gravitated towards me, right? Not only because I was friendly, but because they were like, oh, she always has food and I can eat, right? Like a real meal. So we kind of made it a habit, right? Like it was a weekly thing, and then more and more students would show up. And so I think that's really when the director of the Source Center at the time started noticing that food insecurity was maybe an issue that was more prevalent than we had thought about. She also had really good conversations with the social worker team, who also were seeing those incidents of food insecurity and kind of basic needs challenges. And all of that actually kind of interestingly led into this like larger initiative across the UC that was called the Global Food Initiative that actually gave us the seed funding to start a campus pantry. Around the time, my time as a student was ending, and so I was kind of looking for full-time work. And then there's this grant that came about that was meant to establish the first food pantry, along with what was called at the time a food access coordinator. So the first kind of full-time staff position to actually start the program, right? And so I applied for that, I got the job, and then we started running a small pantry out of the Source Center for 2 years. In those early years, students were very passionate about it. It actually passed the student fee referenda, which is an odd thing for students to do, right? Like actually impose an extra fee on themselves. Yeah. But they believed in this resource and wanted it so much that they actually voted for it. And so that really then allowed us to think bigger, right? And say, okay, now we have actually more funding and semi-permanent funding that we can expand into. And that allowed us to actually receive the space allocation that we have now here in Lot 5. To then expand from just the food pantry into a basic needs center. So that was really the evolution of the center. As we came here and opened our doors here in 2017, then the conversation around basic needs was also becoming a little bit bigger. And the state government was really paying attention to it. There was more research about it. Not only the UC system, but the CSU and the community college systems were really talking amongst each other and producing research around the issues. And all of that led to basically a lot of advocacy, which then led to the state government, the state of California, providing ongoing funding for our centers. And so about a couple of years ago, then we had the opportunity to continue expanding, especially when it came to like our staff capacity, right? So that's when the director position was created and I applied, right? And now I'm here in this position. And then I was able to hire another program coordinator. We've continued to kind of like expand in that manner.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that you not only provide food, but you also provide basic needs. And so what are the new things that you've been able to provide over these years?
So we've continued to add on. Yeah. So early on, beyond the pantry and the direct access to food, we also noticed that some students need access to prepared food, right? So we established a partnership with UCI Dining, for example, so that students can go into the dining commons and receive a meal. So we basically provide those meal swipes to our students who need extra support, right? And they can go ahead and eat a full meal. So that was an early program that was established. Soon after, we know that students, right, sometimes not only are they struggling with food insecurity, but really with financial insecurity. And so we established what's called our economic crisis response team and grant. This is a partnership with our social workers and financial aid to actually get students emergency money. right? So when life happens, if things happen, let's say a student cannot pay rent, they're in a financial crisis, right? They're actually able to tap into this emergency dollars up to $3,000 now to get them out of that situation and stabilize their situation.
Oh, wow.
Beyond that, oh my goodness, we've done more. So
yeah, the Diaper Bank is one that I forgot that you have the great Diaper Bank too. And so
yeah, during COVID actually was a really good time for us, as hard as it was, right? And we continue serving the need, especially. It also allowed us to see additional needs that our students had. And so, for example, we connected with the National Diaper Bank Network, and now we have an allocation of diapers on a monthly basis for any students with children who can come here. Just as they shop for food, they can also grab an allocation of diapers on a monthly basis.
So in the beginning, when you were starting with SOAR, how many patrons how many people did you serve then compared to how many people you serve now?
So I remember that the first week we opened our doors, I think the first day the pantry was open, we had maybe 12 students show up through our doors, right? And then quickly that became, by the second or third week, it was maybe 50 students on a weekly basis. And then I believe by the end of that first 6 months, we were at like 90 students on a weekly basis. And that just has continued to evolve. And then obviously as we came into a bigger space, I just looked at our data, for example, and last month we had about 1,000 unique students who came through our doors, specifically for the pantry resource. And they came about 2,000 times. So an average of like 2 visits per month per student. On a yearly basis, usually we'll end up having about 20,000 visits to the space.
Wow. All right. So then have you seen personally how the food pantry has impacted these students or patrons that use it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's plenty of stories. I recall early on, for example, a young student who was very ashamed to kind of tap into the pantry, right? Come through our doors. And so I had met him outside, kind of office hours. And it was really like those conversations about shame and stigma, but also helping them understand that they actually deserve to eat well, right? That while they're in college, they shouldn't be neglecting their health. And I remember it was very a transformational experience for him, because not only did he kind of push through that shame to say hey, yeah, it's okay, even though I'm a young male and I'm supposed to I think I'm supposed to provide for myself, it's okay to ask for help. And then he became someone who was very outspoken about his situation, started writing spoken poetry, and then became our student staff, right? And it was someone who actually would speak about the resources and try to spread the word with students. Similarly, for example, more recently, we supported a family, an international student, right, who was here with 3 children, was here for a PhD program, and we actually worked closely with the student and his family for almost the 4 or 5 years of his PhD. Wow. Now the student, right, is back home working a full-time job, right, doing really well for himself. But while he was here, he obviously had limited resources. And so what was interesting about this family is that not only, right, they obviously learned about us through the pantry, but then quickly got connected, for example, to the emergency meals, right, where not only him, but his children could come and eat into the dining commons. And then, during summertime, sometimes things were rough because, TA ships are not as available sometimes, right? He would really sometimes struggle with paying for rent. And so then we connected him to our social worker, specifically Peter, who you'll learn about today, right? Who worked with him really closely as far as his specific needs. He was able to tap into the emergency grants, for example, during the summers to pay for rent and kind of pay for those necessities. And so he was able to really maximize all the resources that we have, and made it through the PhD, right? And it was interesting, him and his family showed up here, literally as they're moving out, right? And kind of finishing their studies, going back home, showed up here to say thank you, right? Thank you, we couldn't have made it really through this past 4 or 5 years without the support of the space and the staff. But the beauty of that moment is that I know when they walk away from here, right, they never have to look back. They never probably have to show up to a pantry again. That now they have their degree and they can just kind of continue, right, and find that sense of stability and never have to really struggle to afford the basics.
It's just amazing the work that you do, because food is such an important part of all our lives, and it's such a basic part of our lives, and that we forget about it, I feel like. And you provide a service to kind of catch these people and give them an opportunity to step out of that situation. And so, are there any new projects that you're working on right now that are up and coming? I'm sure there are.
We're always working on new things. So there's a couple of things coming up this year. Very soon, in a few months, we're actually finishing a project that we've been working on trying to really connect students in a more easy manner to our resources, because we've expanded so many resources. Sometimes our students don't know exactly what they qualify, what they should tap into, right? We also, for example, help our students who are eligible apply for public benefits like EBT or CalFresh. And so what we've worked on for the past 5 months is to develop a survey. It's basically a basic needs intake survey that any student can take to identify like what is their level of basic needs, security or lack of. And then that specific survey then basically puts out an outcome and tells them like, hey, based on what you're going through and what you've answered in the survey, these are all the things that you should actually be tapping into, right? So it kind of will prescribe in a way a menu of resources that they can automatically know like, hey, if I go to the space, right, if I go to the Fresh Hub, these are all the things that I can tap into that I already qualify for. So that's coming in the next two months. And then the next thing for later this year was we actually are in the process of purchasing a mobile pantry vehicle. So we've always identified and known, right, that's in a campus this large, accessibility is very important, right? And not all of our students have the means to actually make it out to where we are. And so where it's basically going to be a pantry on wheels, right? We were inspired by some of that model that exists in the community. And so it will be basically a truck that will be kind of like a food truck, but it will be like a produce truck, like a pantry truck that will be able to drive to campus locations and be able to take food to students that perhaps can't access us physically.
And so it's interesting because a lot of the produce that you get is seasonal produce, and you do that for a reason because it's healthier that way too. And so I think it's amazing when you walk in here and you see all this fresh produce and all these great things. These are locally grown, most of them, are they not? Or yeah.
So we're very lucky that we have a partnership, actually a couple partnerships with local farms, right? One is with our Tanaka farms, where we source kind of like their local grown produce. We also have a partnership with the UC South Coast Research Extension Center. They actually grow veggies for us, and our student staff goes out there on a weekly basis to harvest it and bring it back to the center so that we can distribute it.
And so you're also teaching students how to pretty much the farming process and the way that food travels then. And so if I get a lot of questions sometimes from international students, and they might not know that they can utilize a lot of these resources. And so we should definitely tell them that this is here and that they can use it too, correct? The international students.
We serve all students. We actually even support our students who might be, here through the extension services, continuing education, students, undergrads, just like grad students. Our grad student population is actually about a third of our clients here.
Oh, wow.
And yes, international students especially, right? We want to make sure that they know we're here for them too. Because sometimes, it's difficult to be here and afford your education here, or your family's also trying to do things overseas.
And then, so if you're a student, how do you get involved with the food pantry?
Well, there's many ways that students can get involved with the center. So we do have volunteering opportunities on a weekly basis, right? That any student that really has kind of the heart for service can come and put in work. I mean, running something like this takes a lot of, labor, and obviously, a lot of like cleaning and distributing things. We also hire student staff every year. So we have about 40 students who work for us in our pantry team, in our CalFresh team, in our outreach team. So that's another opportunity. We also actually host student fellows. So we host 2 fellowships here. One is through the UC system, the Global Food Initiative. And then we also host every year the Dream Fellows through the Dream Center. And then lastly, we also are partnered with Public Health and Social Ecology to host interns for the practicum and the field studies.
That's nice. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Andrea? There's a lot of good stuff, and it's all really important information. So if anybody ever has any questions, I'm sure you can visit. And always feel free to shoot an email over to me too. So Andrea, do you have any other last words before we hand it over to Peter to show us how to cook?
No, I mean, for all of our staff and faculty, right, watching, we actually have an open house happening tomorrow here from 2 to 5. So if anybody's interested in actually visiting the physical center, we'll be talking about also all the other resources that we offer, and also how to refer students, right? Because sometimes our students need a reminder from a trusted mentor. They're like, hey, it's okay to ask for help. They're like, hey, it's okay to go say like, I need support, right? And so sometimes making that introduction on our behalf, right? Saying like, hey, there's a space where you can go, makes all the difference in a student actually making it through our doors.
And it doesn't have to be food related too.
No,
it can be,
And so Peter will tell you more about also like the work we do with, supported services through the campus social workers. We now have emergency housing too. So if a student ever struggles with housing issues, they can get free housing on campus through our center. And so we're always trying to build more on the resources that we can offer to make sure students are covered if anything happens.
Thank you very
Thank you all
much,
so much.
Andrea.
Appreciate you.
I'm going to head on over to Peter. And Peter is going to show us how to make some food.
I'm Peter Thatch. I'm one of the campus social workers, the basic needs social worker here. Just give a moment as
we might go.
Here.
There we go.
Yeah, and I am myself also alumni here at UCI. Spent 5 years here, and also have been an employee for 8+ years. So 13+ years at UCI. So I'm happy to be here and kind of let you know more about the basic needs hub and the supports we provide for students in our community here. I just want to kind of add on some things and touch upon some supports that Andrea kind of mentioned already. The supports are available for all students. We have recently just added our basic needs sponsored housing for our students that are facing homelessness in partnership with our housing and a lot of our basic needs partners. So we do have housing when the student is facing homelessness. They get connected to one of our rapid rehousing social worker, and we can provide that support. We have our crisis grant. We also have supports for students that are during the pandemic that are remote or off campus as well. Some of our students aren't able to actually access the pantry. So students are able to actually get grocery support, grocery cards for support as well. And also, we also noticed that some of our students have transportation needs. So we actually also provide Lyft vouchers for students that are needing supports to get to their medical appointments, other basic needs that are, very, very important errands. They could also contact us and kind of connect with that support as well. I do want to mention how great it is that this opportunity to present to you all. The Fresh Hub has grown so much. When I first started, like Andrea mentioned, it was in the closet at the SOAR office. And to now to see it's a 2,000+ square foot office or space that provides thousands of pounds of food for so many students. It's something that is accessible for all students, that supports educational equity. It doesn't impact students' financial aid. This is a free support, whether you get CalFresh, you come to the pantry for support. We're able to support you in so many ways. I also want to touch upon our basic needs consults with me. In January 2020, I actually moved over here from the Office of Campus Social Work. We've had a strong partnership with the Fresh Hub, so that we actually embedded myself as a basic needs social worker here. And we also started opening up these consults that students can book for themselves to ask questions before it becomes an issue, before they have other financial crises, right? So students are able to book me for consults for 30 minutes on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. It's on our website. So we encourage students to go ahead and just book using the Calendly link. And through there, they can get supports, get tapped into the resources here, or if it's campus or community resources, we can do that as well. Okay, so that's the kind of the aspect of that. I wanted to go ahead and just switch over to the cooking component of this today. So actually, I'll tell a story. 5 years ago, myself and Fred Lipscomb actually did a cooking workshop called Chicken 5 Ways for the SOAR staff. I guess you can say it was like the beginning of some of our Life Series workshops. So we actually did rotisserie chicken 5 ways for the students there. And so fast forward 5 years later, we're doing Conversation Kitchen. I wanted to do rotisserie chicken again, okay? So today I'm actually gonna be doing chicken fried rice. Actually do that demo. Chef Jessica's gonna go ahead and do chicken chili at the end. But before we actually talk, I also wanted to give students other ideas. I thought rotisserie chicken is a very accessible food, great protein. It's available at all supermarkets, pretty affordable. And it's a lot of pounds of meat for students to use, right? So right here, I actually have kind of demoed here, broken down. So this is a rotisserie chicken, probably from our local Albertsons here. Albertsons is the way. And I use Albertsons a lot when I was a student here as well. But right here I have eggs, cheese, bell peppers, and onions, okay? So what do you think that is? That's an omelet and rotisserie chicken. Like you can use the meat from rotisserie chicken as just chop it up as regular chicken, dark meat, white meat, whatever you like to mix it up. It's a great way to repurpose it after you've eaten it the first time. It's in the fridge, it gets cold. You don't have to do with it. I love to repurpose food. So, I mean, I learned a lot of my cooking skills as a student. And so now I'm kind of imparting some of those skills and like tips that I've learned to you all. I'm a big fan of breakfast or any time of meal. So chicken omelets, you don't have to use chicken. You could use anything else, but you know, bell peppers, onions, cheese, something colorful just to eat, okay? Something else is really simple is if you chop up the meat of your chicken, you could also make chicken salad. I think that's pretty, a lot of us are familiar with chicken salad. You know, red onion, some green onion, some celery, some mayonnaise, some mustard. If you want to put some lemon juice, salt and pepper, you can mix up some other herbs, but you could actually extend that shelf life wise too. And you can put on a tostada, you can put on a sandwich, you could eat with chips. It's a very good meal overall. And something else that I actually done this before at the Fresh Hub before we went on with the pandemic was making chicken noodle soup. So I think a lot of people, you know, you have the bones of the carcass of the chicken. So after you use it, you could actually use those bones, the leftover kind of the little bits of meats and the ribs. You can boil it down and make a good chicken stock, okay? Here you go, see here. And there's a lot of good flavors in there. You can boil it down, make a chicken stock. You chop up, you know, some celery, some carrots, some onion, mince it up to make a good mirepoix, a good base. You can put butter down. And then, you know, put whether it be better than bouillon, nor, or actually, you could add additional chicken stock to it as well and add your favorite pasta. So that makes chicken noodle soup out of something that you would have thrown away. A lot of people throw away and don't realize. So a lot of the skills and things we talk about here with Fresh is not just like getting food, but also cost savings, right? So the way I kind of explain to students is like, you know, did you maximize your financial aid, but can you cost save like in other ways? Can you limit your food expenses? If you access the supports at Fresh, that's a great way for you to use your other money for your rent and your other basic needs. So a lot of skills here. So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with our chicken fried rice portion of things here. All right. And so for me, fried rice is probably one of my favorite things to make. It's something I grew up with. My dad, we rarely threw away things. Like your breakfast was usually dinner, like whatever like leftover, right? And my dad would always like, if there's a pot of something that had like some a sauce or something, my dad would always throw rice into it to make fried rice. So it's a really, you know, very creative, very repurposing of food. And whatever you have in your pantry, your fridge, you can make a really good fried rice. So let me see here. I'm gonna lay down some oil here. So as you can see, basically I have some dry rice. To make fried rice, you need to have dry rice. It's you know, day old rice is best. If you go to a restaurant, they give you rice, take it home. I love that because I know I'm gonna make a fried rice later with that, okay? So my other ingredients I have here is I have garlic, I have onion, I have green onion. So aromatics is always like the base of how I cook stuff. I love a lot of onion and garlic. Some carrots, add some sweetness, right? And then here we have the chicken chopped up already. Okay, let me see. I feel warm, so I was getting there. And also I'm gonna let you know something too. I have some ketchup packets here. So something my dad always did was he added ketchup to his fried rice. It has umami, and then, I mean, you all have packets of something in your cabinets and your fridge. Those things are valuable too. And oftentimes you don't realize that you could actually use that to kind of help cook your meal as well. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw down the onion. There it is. Onion here, throw some garlic. Something I did want to mention, I don't know if there's a lot of alumni watching today, but like I graduated like 15 plus years ago. The student body population, like you all know that we're like a first gen school, like 50% every year. A lot of our students, like myself, like you're learning how to cook for the first time when you're on your own, especially second year because you don't have a meal plan. So that's why we try to do these life skill shops. I know Jess and her side they try to do the life skills workshops with the chef hours. So be on the lookout for that in the future. I will put that down so there is no rubbing friction there. Okay. You put the airbags down, you always want to put some salt. Like I said, I got most of my cooking skills at UCI. As a young adult, you gotta fend for yourself, right? Put that down there. And I will do these cooking workshops when students around here were at the Fresh Hub. And a big purpose of that too is that I wanted the students to get to know me, get to know that there was a social worker available here. I mean, I think if you get a referral, you're more likely to connect with me if I emailed you, if I actually handed you a bowl of fried rice or, made you a taco here at Fresh Hub. So that helped build rapport. Like Jess said, like food makes connections, right? So that's another one of the reasons why I chose to come to this space. I love food. I'm a food enthusiast. Those that know me, I'm a feeder. I'm often one cooking for family reunions and in my household. So some pretty colors, green, orange, white. If you're wondering what kind of salt, I'm using the blend Kinder's garlic salt from Costco. All right, very good option here. All right, the chopped chicken. This is great, by the way. Like I watch so many cooking shows, and here I am. I'm kind of on the cooking show. I hope I make it look easy, all right? Or I hope it looks tasty to you all. But the fried rice is beautiful. You can use anything, any kind of meat. You can do vegan fried rice. But the most important thing is the aromatics, the onions, the garlic, the green onions. To me, that's what's most important. Okay. So once this gets kind of warm, I'll add the dry rice. Here I have some soy sauce. I have kikkoman and meji. You might have your preferences, but I kind of do a blend sometimes. Oh, meji soy sauce, seasoning sauce? Oh, it's imported from Europe, but it's wheat based, but it tastes like soy sauce, but it's a very good flavor enhancement. And kikkoman soy sauce.
I'm yelling at him.
Very popular in a lot of Asian cuisine. Okay, so I think we got everything kind of warmed up here. I'm gonna drop in the rice now, the dried rice. Like I said, day-old rice is best. I'm not gonna use all of it. Good amount right there. Okay. Once you get your rice in, you want to kind of mix it all good. Get the flavors. So the rice kind of absorbs the flavor that you had with the meat and the aromatics, right? If it clumps up, you want to break it down a little bit. And I'll be honest, I'll probably make fried rice once a week. It's a good thing to make good leftovers with. If you're cleaning out your kitchen, you see that some things haven't been used for a while, it's on its last legs, you just want to, for the purpose of stated sustainability as well, right? Not throwing away food. You can make a good fried rice. So once I got that going, I'll layer on some soy sauce. A little bit of magic just because as well. And my secret recipe, Hunt's ketchup. You can use Heinz, whatever you got. This is what I got in the fridge. But you can use all kinds of things as a base. You can use sesame oil well if you want to give that flavor. You could add ginger to your fried rice. You can use bell peppers. Okay. You all probably wondering, like, where's the egg part? That's coming next. I do my eggs last. Some people do on the side. I make a little middle part. Once your rice is hot, this is when you start cooking your egg. So you want to put a little bit of oil so it doesn't stick. Got a couple eggs. Oops. I got a little bit of shell in there. All right. And kind of let the egg sit there. I drop a little bit of seasoning in there. What I do is I kind of make like a scramble in the middle. Get the egg to a good consistency before I kind of mix it up. And there's other ways to do this. This is just my preferred way. A lot of people make a scrambled egg on the side and add it after. But I don't want to wash the extra pan. I just want to, everything I cook, I try to make it one pan or one pot if I can help it. Here, all right? See the egg is getting at a decent consistency here, where it's kind of like almost like a scramble. So this is when I go ahead and mix it all up. All right. Got a little bit of sticky on the bottom because we're going non-stick today, but yeah, and this is more or less, I think we can just let it bring it down. And yeah, and you could add some garnishing, cilantro, or whatever you want on top if you want to have some more green onion here. Break it down. Usually at home, I'll leave it a little bit like this, and then I like the bottom being kind of a little bit crispy. But that's a rotisserie chicken fried rice. So y'all can see. How long that take? That wasn't that long, right? 10 minutes or so?
That everybody always gets to see me do my knife skills, and Peter has some amazing knife skills, if you can't see already, including some garlic, onion that he chopped up. So I'm actually, before I start my demo, I'm actually going to have him show you how he chops, because we all chop differently, and I like telling people they do it wrong all the time, and then I get in trouble because it's what you're comfortable with. And so what I'm actually going to have him do is show us how you cut your onion, because I cut it a whole different way than you do, maybe.
Just
I don't know. Yeah, let's see.
Sure. I'll cut this onion.
Cut that onion.
I'll use this cutting board.
Yep. Because I think it'd be interesting. It's always interesting to see how different people chop and cut.
All right.
And it smells very good in here. And yes, I did bring him a nonstick pan and it does stick. So you got to use a little bit more oil. There you are.
Well, it usually depends how you need it, but I like
How do you do it?
small. Like what I do is I cut the ends of my onions first. Some people keep that part
I do.
to keep it steady,
Yes.
but I chop that off. And basically peel your onion, right? You know.
And the rotisserie chicken, the bones, like he was saying, for the chicken soup is really good. Rotisserie chicken, when you make bone stock or bone broth, it helps to have cooked chicken bones. You are able to extract more out of it, the nutrients. And so like when you make veal stock, like when you're at a restaurant, you actually roast the bones until they're black almost, and then make a stock out of it. So it's really interesting that rotisserie chicken makes the best broth.
Okay. So I cut the two ends so I have a flat. It's important when you chop to have a flat bottom somewhere.
Yes.
Because if you're just rocking around, then it's a safety hazard. But I usually cut my onion in half. So I'm just going to show half demo.
Yep.
So this half right here. So I cut that in half. Right. I guess I cut the flat part in half. Then I chop here. What I do is I kind of chop it in eighths. Like this. I twist. Chop it in eighths. And if I need it even finer, I'll chop it in like 16ths even.
Interesting.
If you need that. Or if you need it chunkier, you can do quarters. So that's how I chop it. And then, you always got to do the little tiger grip,
Claw.
the claw. And then I just kind of go like this. I kind of rock it. And then you got to be careful at the end. Sometimes I just let it go and then I just kind of do that. And then there you go. And that's how I chop onion.
That's how you chop your onion.
Yeah.
All right.
Now I'm tearing up. From
Now,
onions, yeah.
now he's crying. He's crying. I caused him to cry.
There's no way around that.
No, there is no
especially
way.
Especially shallots. I cooked a lot with shallots, and
Yeah.
those get you hard.
I always say it's the older ones, the ones that have been sitting in the store for too long.
You want to do yours too?
I'm going to do mine now. Let's see.
Okay.
So I do it similar. I'm using the back of my knife, everyone. So I'm not ruining his beautiful knife. So he has a beautiful knife here. It's a really nice weighted knife. So I keep that intact still. And then I put my fingers around it, like he said, and then I cut down. Okay. And then I peel.
So that's culinary school.
That's culinary school, yeah. Maybe. We
Mine-
don't know. We don't know.
Mine, I don't know where.
No, but that's the beauty of cooking, because it's actually really, really similar. So I keep this intact. And so he's able to, because you're actually more comfortable with it probably. And so I'll take this end off. And then I pinch the knife. So I'm always pinching the knife and then putting my hand around it and then use the tip of the knife. I don't do it as evenly as he does. I just go in. And then if you dare, you can go in one more time this way. Everything together.
Wow, that's even finer than mine.
It will be finer, but they're all perfectly fine ways to cook an onion and chop an onion. And then I go all the way up too. So that's it for the onion. Cool. But if you look, actually, the nice thing about the way that Peter does it is because it's not held together by this, it falls apart easier. Mine's all chunked together. I actually have to go in and almost break it apart a little bit more. So he might have turned me on to something else.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right. So now I'm going to show everyone how to make a chili. Now, Peter doesn't like chili. I don't say. No, it's not. Okay. It's not
I like
that we
chili.
don't try.
I've never made chili personally.
Okay. So, and he asked me, why did we have to make chili? And so it was a really interesting question. And it's an actual question that I think is important to answer. And the answer is this. These are two products that you find at the food pantry almost every week. I feel like canned tomatoes and canned beans are two things that you'll probably find at any food pantry. right? These two. This is your best friend when you can't have meat. You're going to get a lot more protein and nutrients out of your can of beans than you are from a lot of other things that there might be. Lentils is the other great one. So I like using those two. And then celery, carrots, and onion is the mirepoix of what Peter was talking about, like that base flavor, and garlic.
And garlic.
There's the Trinity. The Trinity is what they use in the South. In the South, they throw in the bell pepper and garlic too. And then there's, what's the one that they use in South America? I can't remember. It's like a Trinity. It's like this, and they use bell peppers. I can't remember now. Something like, I can't remember. But anyways, and then you've got bell peppers. If you can find it, if you want a bell pepper, you can add a bell pepper. And when you buy a bell pepper, make sure you look up here, because this is where it usually starts to go bad and it'll be soft. And you don't want to buy anything that's soft up here. The other thing is, when you're buying a bell pepper, don't buy it by weight, buy it by piece, because bell peppers range in weight all the time. Because sometimes there's a seed pocket right in the middle, and you don't want to be paying for the seed pocket. Now, when you chop this guy, it's a little bit more, it's a little funkier, because I'm going to cut through the middle, and then I'm going to expose the seeds and then take it out just like that. That way I've still got this part to use if I wanted to. Now, this is where the dirt likes to hang out. So make sure you clean it and then cut on the inside. So trim the pith. So you can trim this white stuff because it's bitter. And then cut on the inside. Don't cut on the outside. Like a tomato, the outside's going to be slippery. So cut on the inside. And again, make little strips. And if you can, bell peppers are pretty pesticide laden. So there's 12 produce items or 12 things that we like to say, if you can buy organic, you should. This table is very low, so it's hard to chop. All right. So there's bell pepper. So I've got a pot going on right now. We added some garlic too. How do you chop garlic? What's your garlic trick?
Smash.
Smash. Can you smash one for
Smash
me?
and peel.
Smash and peel.
Yeah, so you want to just smash it a little bit.
Yep.
Just enough that it breaks the peel. And I cut the ends off right here. Like that, and just kind of comes.
Do you ever use a garlic press?
I do use a garlic press
Okay.
sometimes, but I kind of like the act of chopping garlic. It's probably,
you do?
It's cooking is therapeutic, I think, too. So.
But your hands get so sticky from garlic. I don't
Yeah.
like sticky fingers from garlic.
Yeah, a friend when I had a roommate. I had studied abroad in Barcelona for a year,
Yeah.
and he was a cook, and he told me in the kitchen that with garlic oils, you just rinse it down like this for a while, and the garlic oils will come down. If you rub it, the garlic oils will get all over your hand, but you let it just run down.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, so that's what I do.
We do the stainless steel. Like I just go around looking for stainless steel to put my fingers on.
Yeah,
So
so I peeled the garlic right there,
Yep.
and then what I do is I you kind of like do this,
Yeah.
and I just like that,
Cool. And then chop.
and then really for that, and then there it is. It's just nicely minced for you. You kind of just like that,
Nice.
you know. If I use a lot of garlic, I just use a food processor. So
Yeah, that's true too.
that's
Yeah.
it.
So if anybody is interested about garlic, the good component in garlic is called allicin. Allicin doesn't actually activate until you chop it. So in order to get the benefits out of garlic, you have to chop it. Not only that, you need to let it sit for a couple seconds too. It's actually 10 minutes. That's what they say. And then it's supposed to like get all those cells that you just broke up, come back together and create that healthy benefit. So if you ever have garlic, I've been trying to chop my garlic before I cook anything else. So, all right. So now we're going to make our chili. I'm going to add a little bit of oil. The good high heat oil that we like to use these days is avocado oil. So if you've got avocado oil, that'll be your best friend. And then I'm just going to add all of my stuff together. I'm not even going to care which one goes in first or last. I will tell you though, if you like garlic, hold off on the garlic. You can even add it at the very, 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 very end. We'll give that a stir. So all of these things that we're teaching you, if you didn't realize already, can easily be thrown into a Ziploc bag and frozen. So the chili, I would freeze flat. So you can freeze it flat and then you can have it whenever you want, or you can even freeze the fried rice. There's a lot of things that we can freeze that a lot of people forget. So the other one is eggs. So just a quick thing about eggs. It's really interesting. There's 3 numbers. So the food pantry is, you don't waste things, right? Do you go by expiration dates? Expiration dates are...
The dates are best by dates.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily expiration dates.
Yes. And so one of the ones is eggs. I feel like a lot of people throw away eggs just by reading that date. Okay, so it's floaters, toss. Sinkers, keep. They freeze really well too. So what you can do is you can actually take it out of the shell and then freeze it. You can scramble it, then freeze it, or you can separate them and then freeze them. But what's interesting is there's these 3 numbers next to this long number, but then there'll be a 3-digit code. That 3-digit code tells you when the egg was actually laid. So this one says 3/12. So you can calculate the number of days into the year. Yeah. So that 3/12 is the day that it was laid. And so you can actually calculate how old your eggs are, and you'll find out they're not really that old, or they are. Egg whites are always better if you're using them for like a meringue or something, for them to be old though. Okay, so these are good to go. And now I'm just gonna dump my tomatoes and then dump my beans. And I do rinse my beans. They do carry a lot of salt. So if you want, rinse your beans and then add salt if you need later on.
I got garlic salt if you want.
Oh yeah, we can add some garlic salt in here. Sweet. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of...
This is Cajun salt too if you want.
Oh, you can add some Cajun salt. I'm gonna add some water or stock, whichever one you want. Stock is obviously gonna taste a lot better, but this will be just as good. And so now you can add your chicken into here if you have rotisserie chicken. And if you want to make your own rotisserie chicken, they're pretty easy to make. So why don't we shred some up? We can add that up.
You want dark meat, white meat?
Dark. Well, let's do white.
Let's do white meat.
Let's do white meat.
I'm just going straight into the
healthy. Make it super healthy then.
Just tear off part of the breast here.
Yes. You can use any beans, black beans, pinto beans, any kind of beans you want. Sweet. And then Peter will do the chopping.
A little bit of the white meat here. Kind of cube it so it's nice little chunks, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Add that in. So that's going to cook. The longer it cooks, the better it's going to taste. But the main thing is that we also gave you a packet of seasoning. So I made a chili mix for everyone. The chili mix has dark chili powder, which is not spicy for the, and then it's got a little bit of oregano, cumin, coriander, as well as smoked paprika. So this is what I want to show you. These are really basic ingredients. It doesn't seem like it'll taste like much. This will make this taste like $1 million. And so the idea of Peter having things like this, and this, these are all ingredients that help food taste better. So there's spice blends. Spices and herbs will brighten your food up for you, and you're not adding junk. You're not adding anything that's is bad for you in any shape. And so now I'm going to add my spices in. I'm not going to add all of it. And you guys had the right amount in there. But the smoked paprika will almost give it an earthiness that's similar to meat. So if you're craving meat and you don't have meat, smoked paprika is a really good substitute for that. And then we're going to let that go. And so I'm going to let that cook and then serve it with a lime. So everybody got a lime. I want to show you one trick before we sign off and say bye. Limes, if you buy them and they're hard, roll them around first. So you can do that trick where you do the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Sometimes that doesn't work. If that doesn't work, your microwave will soften it for you. 20-second intervals, okay? Put it in for 20 seconds. There are times when citrus can get really, really expensive and you don't want to use the whole thing. So if you don't want to use the whole thing, all you have to do is make a little cut on the top, make a little X right on the top, okay? And then you can take the back of a wooden spoon, and I'm just going to squeeze it here so that you can see. And then you find that spot and then you just squeeze based off that. I can take this whole thing and put it back in my refrigerator then, and I can still use it. So you're only using what you need, but you're preserving that whole thing just by making a little cut on top. So those are the types of little tricks that can help your food last a little bit longer. And I think that's it. Do you have any other tips or tricks, Peter?
Not on the top of my head, but
Not-
I mean, invest in
with
good Tupperware.
Mm.
You know, you talked about freezing food. If
Yep.
you have good Tupperware, you can save your food longer. That's a good way to cost save money.
Yeah.
But yeah, come check us out. Check the website. Look at the supports available, the resources. If you have questions, you're more welcome to book a consult. And if students that are needing higher level supports can check out the Office of Campus Social Worker for referrals as well. You know, we're here for students to provide whatever support you need. There's something in whatever situation you're facing, there are people that can help you out.
Thank you everyone for joining us. See you soon. Bye.
Right.